Hi, I'm Jessica Chen, and this is the story of how I learned that appearances can be deceiving, especially in the corporate world. For 6 months, I worked as a janitor at Sterling Technologies, one of the largest tech companies in Boston. But what nobody knew was that I wasn't really a janitor. I was their new majority shareholder, working undercover to understand why this once great company was failing. I still remember the day my grandfather called me to his hospital room. He was dying, and as the former founder of Sterling Technologies, he had one last request. "Jessie," he said, his voice weak but his eyes sharp as ever. "Something's wrong at Sterling. The company's losing money, good people are leaving, but the books show everything's fine. I need you to find out what's really happening." I was shocked when he handed me the paperwork showing he'd secretly transferred 52% of the company's shares to me. My grandfather had always been strategic, keeping his majority ownership quiet while letting the current CEO, Marcus Sterling, his nephew and my cousin, think he was in control. "Don't let them know who you are," grandfather warned. "Marcus has changed. He's not the same boy we once knew." 2 days later, my grandfather passed away, and his funeral was the last time I saw Marcus before I started my undercover mission. Getting hired as a janitor was surprisingly easy. With dyed brown hair, glasses, and a fake last name, nobody recognized me as the quiet girl from family photos. Sterling Technologies had gotten sloppy with their hiring processes, just one of many problems I would discover. For 6 months, I cleaned offices at night, listening to conversations, observing patterns, and slowly piecing together a disturbing picture. Marcus had surrounded himself with yes men, promoted his drinking buddies to key positions, and was bleeding the company dry with excessive executive perks. Worse, he created a toxic culture where bullying was normalized and competent employees were leaving in droves. But the most shocking discovery came when I was cleaning the CFO's office at 2 a.m. and found documents showing systematic accounting fraud. They were cooking the books, hiding losses, and potentially defrauding investors. I carefully photographed everything, building my case night after night. The annual company party was supposed to be my last night undercover. I had all the evidence I needed, and the board meeting on Monday would change everything. But Marcus just couldn't help himself. He had to have one last moment of cruelty. I was emptying trash cans during the party when Marcus, drunk on expensive champagne, decided to make me the entertainment. "Hey everyone," he slurred, grabbing my arm and pulling me into the center of the room. "Meet our star janitor, probably the only job she's qualified for. I bet she can't even read." The room erupted in laughter, not the genuine kind, but the uncomfortable kind when people feel pressured to laugh at the boss's jokes. I kept my head down, playing my role one last time, as Marcus continued his tirade. "Look at her. No education, no skills, no future. This is why I keep saying we need to outsource our cleaning staff. These people are an embarrassment to Sterling Technologies." He was practically spitting the words now, swaying slightly from the alcohol. Sarah from HR tried to intervene. "Marcus, maybe we should." No, he cut her off. "This is important. We need to maintain standards. We can't have people like her dragging down our company's image. What if a client saw her? They'd think we're running a charity." I could have ended it right there. Could have pulled out my ID, revealed everything, and watched his face turn white. But my grandfather taught me something valuable. Patience is power. So I simply smiled, whispered "excuse me," and left the party with their laughter echoing behind me. That night, I made my final preparations. I reviewed all the evidence one last time: the fraudulent accounting documents, the emails showing kickback schemes, the documentation of harassment and discrimination, and the records of company funds being used for personal expenses. Everything was organized and ready for Monday's board meeting. I also made some calls. A few to key board members I trusted, arranging private meetings before Monday. One to the SEC about the fraud evidence, and one to a private security firm because I had a feeling Marcus wouldn't take Monday's revelations quietly. As I laid out my suit for Monday morning, Armani, not the janitor's uniform, I thought about Marcus's words at the party. No education. I smiled, looking at my Harvard MBA diploma on the wall. No skills. My successful tech startup's acquisition papers sat on my desk. No future. Well, Monday would certainly prove him wrong about that. I checked my phone. 3 text messages from Sarah in HR, who'd been my secret ally these past 6 months. Marcus is still here. Getting drunker and nastier. Keeps ranting about you. Everyone's horrified, but nobody's stopping him. Monday can't come soon enough. I texted back. Tell everyone to make sure they're at the 9 a.m. board meeting. They won't want to miss it. Setting my alarm for 6 a.m., I tried to sleep, but my mind kept racing. 6 months of careful planning would culminate in the next few hours. I thought about all the good people at Sterling Technologies who deserved better leadership, about my grandfather's legacy that needed to be protected. And yes, I thought about the look that would appear on Marcus's face when he realized just how wrong he'd been about the janitor. Monday morning dawned clear and cold in Boston. I arrived at Sterling Technologies at 7 a.m., letting myself in with my janitor's keys one last time. The security guard nodded sleepily. He'd seen me work early shifts before, never knowing I had a corner office waiting upstairs. The executive floor was empty and dark. I walked to the boardroom, my heels clicking against the marble floors, so different from the quiet shuffle of my cleaning shoes. Slowly, I began transforming the space. I hooked up my laptop to the presentation screen, laid out copies of the evidence dossiers at each seat, and placed a single document at the head of the table, my proof of ownership. By 8:30, board members began arriving. Most walked past the boardroom, then did double takes seeing lights on. They'd peek in, see me in my tailored suit sitting at the head of the table, and quickly back away, checking their phones to confirm they had the right meeting. "Please come in," I'd say calmly. "All will be explained at 9. At 8:45, Sarah from HR arrived, breaking into a huge grin when she saw me. She'd been my only confidant these past 6 months, helping me gather evidence of workplace violations. "Need any help setting up?" she asked, barely containing her excitement. "Everything's ready," I replied. "Just make sure Marcus doesn't try to change the meeting room when he sees me here." By 8:55, the boardroom was filling up. The tension was palpable. Everyone could sense something big was about to happen, but nobody dared ask why the janitor was sitting in the CEO's chair. I noticed several people photographing me with their phones, presumably texting Marcus. At 9:02, Marcus burst through the door, his face already red with anger. "What the hell is this?" he demanded, storming toward me. "Security. Get this cleaning lady out of my boardroom." I smiled, remembering his words from the party. "Hello, cousin. Please, take a seat. We have a lot to discuss." The room went dead silent. Marcus froze mid-stride, his face shifting from anger to confusion. "Cousin? What are you?" Then recognition dawned, and he stumbled backward slightly. "Jessica. Surprised to see me? You should be. You've been so busy running this company into the ground that you never noticed me cleaning your office every night." I stood up, addressing the stunned board members. "Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jessica Chen. My grandfather, Thomas Chen, founded this company, and as of 6 months ago, I own 52% of Sterling Technologies shares." Marcus lunged for the document in front of me, but I'd anticipated this. 2 security guards, not Sterling's regular team, but professionals I'd hired, stepped in smoothly to block him. "You're lying," he sputtered. "Uncle Thomas would never." Actually, he did. He knew something was wrong at Sterling, but he couldn't prove it, so he asked me to find out. I picked up one of the dossiers, and find out I did. "Shall we begin with the accounting fraud, Marcus? Or would you prefer we start with the harassment complaints, the embezzlement, the insider trading? I have quite a list." For the next 2 hours, I methodically laid out everything I'd discovered. The board sat in shocked silence as I showed them proof of how their CEO had been systematically destroying the company. When I played the audio recordings of Marcus threatening employees who questioned his decisions, several board members actually gasped. "This is all lies," Marcus shouted, but his voice was shaking. "You can't just walk in here and—" "I already have," I cut him off. "The SEC has copies of everything I'm showing you. They're launching an investigation, and as majority shareholder, I'm calling for an immediate vote to remove Marcus Sterling as CEO. All in favor?" Every hand in the room went up. Marcus's face turned an alarming shade of purple. "You can't do this to me. I'm a Sterling. This is my company." "No, Marcus. It was my grandfather's company. He built it with integrity, innovation, and respect for every employee, from the CEO to the janitors. You forgot that, and now you're fired." As security escorted him out, he was still shouting threats and insults. I turned back to the board. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot of work to do. Sterling Technologies needs a complete restructuring, starting with a culture change. The next few months were intense. We cleaned house at the executive level, promoting talented employees who'd been overlooked under Marcus's leadership. We implemented new anti-harassment policies, improved benefits, and created anonymous reporting channels for workplace issues. Sarah became our new head of human resources, with a mandate to transform the company culture. You know, she told me one day, people still talk about that board meeting. It's become kind of a legend. The company's performance improved dramatically once we rooted out the corruption. Within a year, our stock price had doubled, employee satisfaction scores were at record highs, and we were winning industry awards for innovation again. As for Marcus, last I heard, he was trying to start his own company, but investors tend to get nervous when they Google your name and find SEC investigations. Sometimes karma works perfectly on its own. 1 year to the day after the board meeting, I was walking through the office when I overheard one of our janitors teaching a new employee how to properly recycle electronics waste, one of the sustainability initiatives we'd implemented. Management really listens to our suggestions now, she was saying. Ever since Ms. Chen took over, everyone gets treated with respect, no matter what their job is. I smiled, thinking of my grandfather. He would have loved hearing that. Sometimes the best way to lead isn't from a corner office, but from the ground up, where you can see what really needs to change. The next week, we hosted another company party, very different from the one where Marcus had humiliated me. This time, every employee was invited, from executives to maintenance staff. As I looked around at people from all departments mingling, laughing, and sharing ideas, I knew we'd restored Sterling Technologies to what my grandfather had always meant it to be, not just a successful company, but a place where everyone's contribution was valued. That night, I placed my old janitor's uniform in a frame in my office. Under it, I put a small plaque with my grandfather's favorite quote, "True character is revealed not in how you treat your equals, but in how you treat those you think are beneath you." Marcus never understood that. But thanks to his arrogance and cruelty, Sterling Technologies was finally back on the right path. Sometimes the best lessons come from the worst teachers. As I sit in my office writing this, I can see the city skyline through my window. The same view I used to see while cleaning windows as a janitor. The perspective is the same, but everything else has changed. Our stock price hits new highs every quarter. Our employee retention rate is among the best in the industry. And just last week, we were voted one of the best places to work in Boston. But my favorite moment? That was when we hired a new janitor last month. During the orientation, someone asked why the CEO's office had a framed janitor's uniform on the wall. "That's there to remind us," I said, "that every job has dignity, every employee has value, and you never know. The person cleaning your office might just end up being your boss." The lesson? Never underestimate people. You might think someone is just a janitor, but they might be the owner analyzing every move you make. Treat everyone with respect, not because of who they might turn out to be, but because that's what decent human beings do. As for me, I still occasionally grab a mop and help clean up after office parties. Old habits die hard, and besides, some of the best company insights still come from the people who see everything while others think they're invisible.